2005 Toyota Tacoma. Inner and outer tie rods. I'm Brian Eslick from How To Automotive, and I'm going to walk you through that process. Okay, to get started, we're going to loosen up the jam nuts here. And the way we do that is we're going to take our, it happens to be a 1 1/16 wrench, or 27 millimeter, I believe is the size. And you're going to go on the passenger side, you're going to go towards the front of the car to loosen. And on the driver's side, if you're doing the driver's side, in this case we're doing both though, you're going to go towards the back of the car to loosen the jam nuts. So that's the first step. The next step is to remove the cotter pins and remove the nuts holding the tie rods, the outer tie rods in. To make things a little easier, I went ahead and removed the tires. You can do this with, if you have the right tools, you can do it with the tires on, but most people may not have these tools on, speaking of, so I'm just going to do it without. So now that I got the jam nuts loose, I got the tie rod, the outer tie rod bolt off. That's a 22 millimeter, and the cotter pins out, the bolts off. Go ahead and put the threads back on. Put it back on a couple threads. Then you're going to take a hammer, like so, the biggest hammer you can swing, and you're going to hit it right here on the end of the spindle here, where the tie rod mounts. A couple whacks, and this will pop free. Hopefully, I can do it with a couple of whacks on camera here. So the driver's side here, I had to whack it like 10 times, and the passenger side is like 2 whacks and it popped through. So now you can see the ball joint has popped free, or the tie rod has popped free. Now you can go ahead and pop it out of its joint here. So what we're going to do now is we're going to center our tie rod up, and we're going to spin it off. So we're going to count the threads. So that's 1, 2, 3. So it was about 16 on mine, but it's going to be different. And you're going to do the same thing in on the left, on the passenger driver's side. You're going to count them as you back them out, and you're going to write that down. The reason why we do that is we just, when we put it back together, we try to put it roughly in the same amount of threads that it came out, and that kind of gets you in the ballpark for your alignment. You know, it's not perfect, but it'll get you close. Also, you want to keep your left and right sides, you know, keep track of the left and right, because the new parts are designed for one side only. So now we need to get the dust boots off, and on the ends they're going to have the squeeze clamps, and it could have a variety of different style clamps here, anywhere from zip ties to this particular one has an actual band clamps on it. So go ahead and remove those. So now that you got your clamps loose on the end and your squeeze clamps removed, basically you're just going to pry the boots off, and you may have to put a pick tool in here and flare this out a little bit to break the seal, because it'll kind of glue itself on there, and then pull the boots off. Okay, so now that we got the boots off, right here they have these, it's kind of bent over the tab. We need to bend this tab back, and it's like a little locker keeper that help lock the tie rod in on and prevent it from backing off. So what we need to do is with a punch or a screwdriver or whatever you got, and we need to hit it with a little hammer and bend this tab back. And then after that, I'll walk you through the next step. So I got it bent back here, and then on the opposite side there was one bent here. But they could be bent like all the way around it, depending on if somebody's done them before. So you just bend them back. Don't worry about deforming them or anything like that. You're going to get new ones with the kit. So now what we need to do is find the proper wrench that goes right behind the tie rod here, and need to put it on here. And then we need to find the proper, I have an actual ball joint tool, or you can use a pipe wrench, or you can find the actual proper wrench size, and you can put it here, and it's going to be standard threads, righty tighty, lefty loosey on this. So you're going to back it up with one wrench right here, and then twist it off here. You don't want the actual racking pinion to twist. There's a gear inside here, and if you twist just the outer, it'll twist it, and it can damage the inners of the racking pinion. So this is my setup. I use this. It's actually a fan clutch tool. It's about a, I don't know, 30 something millimeter wrench. Doesn't have the markings on it, so I backed it up there like that, and used my pipe wrench to take it off. And They also have different style inner tie rod tools. I have those too, but this was just the easiest to use. So that's what you're gonna look for. So you're gonna back this up like this, loosen it up with the pipe wrench. Okay, so after matching up our parts, this is our new inner tie rod. I put a little blue thread sealer on the threads, and this is like a little glue that helps prevent them from vibrating loose and backing out. And we're also going to put a new lock keeper on this. So this is the lock keeper, and the little ears that are sticking up, the little tabs sticking up, they have to face inwards towards the rack and pinion, and they fit inside these little grooves like that, and then you thread the new tie rods in, threaded on. So now that we got the keeper on and the new tie rods threaded in, we need to bend these little tabs over. Just with a little hammer, you just bend them over. So hammer over, and then do it in a couple spots. The next step is to put our new, or not our new, but put our dust boots back on, tighten the clamps, put the squeeze clamps back on. So the next thing you want to do is match up our tie rods, our new tie rods with the old ones for the left and right. So we got that, and then we want to put the jam nuts on the tie rods first. So if our jam nuts put on most of the way on, now we're going to spin the tie rods on, counting the amount of turns that we took it off. So that's 2, 3, and so on until you get back to roughly where you were, and then we'll spin the jam nut on and tighten it up. So now that we got this spun back on and it's kind of in the ballpark of where it came off, got the jam nut just snugged up tight, what we want to do is take the end right here, and you want to kind of tap it in a little bit with your hand to create that angle, and then you want to reinsert it into the spindle here, and put your nut back on and torque it down, and don't forget to put the cotter pin in. Very important. So make sure when you put your cotter pin in, make sure it's a new cotter pin. And then some aftermarket ball joints, or tie rod ends, I'm sorry, come with Zerk fittings, and some of them don't. So mine came with them, so I'm going to go ahead and screw that in now. I'll screw that in, and I'll use my grease gun and fill this up with a little grease. And that's pretty much it. You're in the ballpark now. You need to drive it, take it over to either have it aligned, or if you're at a shop, align it now. And then the last step would be to put your wheels and tires back on and torque those down. And I'm Brian Eslick from How To Automotive, and I'd like to thank you guys for watching my videos. And as always, it's my pleasure sharing my experience with you, and I'll remind you to subscribe. Thank you.